Hey everybody, today we are sitting at the Gladewater Museum in historic downtown Gladewater in East Texas, the capital of antiques of East Texas.
We are.
And we're sitting with Lois Reed, who is the Chamber of Commerce president, and today she's dressed like a witch. A good witch.
And it's nice.
She's an informative witch. She took us on a fun tour of the museum and gave us a good overview of the history of where we are. And so basically, we've got this train that runs through the Southern Pacific Railroad, right?
Yes.
And that's kind of where it put Gladewater on the map. But there were people here before, but was that who came here first?
Well, of course, the Native Americans
Sure.
were here. We had Caddo Indians in our area. Caddos like to live close to rivers. We've got the Sabine River. It was larger at the time. And so not only could they get fish, they had their water right there. And normally we think of the Indians as living in teepees, but the Caddos live in the mounded homes.
Yeah.
And I learned last year when we had a guest here for our night at the museum that the bottom floor of it is where the fire is. That's where the family would eat. The second level is where they would sleep. And the third level is where the dad, the uncles, that's where they would put any meat that they had provided for the family. And the thinking is most animals would not come in where the fire was. If they made it up to that second level, the dad could take care of the animals before they ever got to the third level and stole all the food.
Well, there you go.
Wow.
Who knew, right?
I was so amazed.
Yeah. Wow. And so then you've got the Native Americans, the Caddo Indians here. And then here comes, the Anglos, let's put it that way.
Yes.
And you got Spanish history too here.
Yes,
Spanish
we
and Mexican
do.
history here. And so now the town starts to be put on the map because now the railroad's coming through. And then from there, then it was oil.
Oh, the train came through in 1873, and that really put us on the map. We actually had a depot to begin with. And so people, naturally were going west during that period. Then in the early 1930s is when oil was discovered, Kilgore, Gladewater, this whole area. And so we became about 5 times the size that we were before oil. Our community grew. People didn't want to leave. A lot of people became millionaires even back then. Just from the oil
country.
Wow. So so basically here comes that's why it's Commerce Street.
Well, that's a good, yeah,
it's busy. You've got Main Street, Commerce Street, and now you go into antiques. You've got to think, is that because of all the affluent families beforehand that you get all these good antiques?
Exactly. And back during the oil boom, people were buying pianos. If you had money, you had to have a baby grand piano in your home. And also the ladies were already, getting their clothing from Neiman Marcus out of Dallas.
Wow.
And we've had some shoes that have been donated to us where the lady's monogram would be in their shoe.
Oh, well, la-di-da.
That's my pair
Now,
of shoes.
what Southern Belle's going to take her shoe off at a social event that anyone else would ever have seen your monogram?
Well, that's because it's just that fancy.
It's just that way.
Yeah, so the affluence comes in, and then, here comes the money into the town. And you're just talking about the antiques, though. You're actually designated. This isn't just a tourism slogan.
Oh, no. The Texas legislature declared us as the antique capital of East Texas. Now, there are some surrounding towns that will tell you that they are, but we have the certificate.
They're sealed and proper.
Exactly.
All right. That's it. So antiques abound. There's a lot of trading going on, so a lot of events come through, like a lot of antiquing events that happen here, too.
There is. Now, remember, we only became an antique capital after our town, the oil boom kind of subsided, and so our town had a lot of vacant buildings. And then one of our store owners, Miss Bishop, she thought we should start having antique stores. And so she talked to a few friends. They opened up to antiques because with all of the boom of the people here during the oil boom period, there was lots of things that, people that lived in the city were looking for country decorations for their homes. And so our little town grew into the antique capital because of the vision of Miss Bishop.
Wow.
Well, cheers to Miss Bishop.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So the other part of this is when there's money, then there's entertainment that needs to be happening. Because everybody's working hard, too, to make that money. So entertainment brought in some very famous musicians. Some weren't so famous at the beginning, right?
Exactly. Now, Gladewater was situated halfway between Dallas and Shreveport. We were the only place that you could have some adult drinks.
Ooh.
Because every place else was dry.
Oh, see, they got oil and they got
booze.
wiggy time. All right.
Okay, so that wiki time, on the other side of the Sabine River, we had adult clubs, better known as honky tonks. And these honky tonks had some really fun people who came and performed. Jerry Lee Lewis performed out there.
Wow.
Elvis Presley, when he was still driving that truck for the electric company, he appeared numerous times here in Gladewater. Johnny Cash performed here. Now, remember, we're segregated back during those days, and so our black community also was popular with stars who later became really big stars. We've been told that Ike and Tina Turner performed here, and who doesn't love Tina Turner?
Oh, my gosh.
really?
Yeah.
Fats Domino.
I was going to say Fats Domino because it's interesting to say Jerry Lee Lewis. So in Natchitoches, Louisiana, it's just a hop, skip, and jump over the Sabine River. We saw some of the old juke joints out there.
Yes.
And they're kind of, you can't go in them. And they're in the bushes, And Jerry Lee Lewis and Fats Domino performed there. And I think, Fats used to hang out there.
On tour.
This whole
Chuck
area
Berry.
is Chuck Berry, yeah.
Yep.
So, all right. So this is cool, man.
Yeah.
This is so cool. And Johnny Cash, now he wrote Walk the Line while he was here.
Yes, he did. Johnny Cash hadn't been married very long, and he wanted his bride to know that while he was out traveling with these other young singers, that he was walking that straight line.
No more naughty business.
No, not
And
for Johnny
clean,
Cash.
clean.
Yes.
Yes.
And this is when he was married to June.
Yes.
And she put him on the straight and narrow.
And she made it clear.
He went after her for many, many years.
Yes, he
Yeah.
did.
He wanted her. And then he walked the line. So, reading the plaques about this too, because you've also got a series of murals downtown showing some of the, the famous people of Gladewater. That he was here in a dressing room. He was talking to Chet Atkins. So that's another huge,
Yes.
musician, one of the best guitarists I think in the planet. Just saying. So that's a lot of musical history. But you had Jim Reeves here.
Yes, Jim Reeves was a DJ, but he is one of the most wonderful, easy
Got that
listening.
voice.
That voice is just like velvet.
So this is a lot of history. So you got a music room in here.
Yes, that
Okay.
happens to be my favorite room in the museum, of course.
Elvis was playing for a certain person here.
Well, we had a DJ at the time, Tom Perriman. He was really popular, won numerous awards through the DJ profession. We had KSIJ, which was a state-of-the-art recording studio and radio station on top of one of our skyscrapers. But wait, it is our only skyscraper. It's 4 stories with a basement. Now, the man who had the building built, T.W. Lee, the basement is totally finished. And his thought was he wanted to have a 5-star restaurant in the basement of his building. But sadly, he passed away before he could finish, and the basement has been used for numerous things through the years, but no restaurant.
Oh, well. But now you gave us a recipe for banana pudding.
Well, Elvis, when he was in town, he would go and have dinner with Tom and his wife, Billy. He would play with their children. He would rock them in a rocking chair that Tom and Billy donated to the museum several years ago. But Miss Billy's banana pudding was one of his favorite things. And so we offered to our visitors a copy of that banana pudding.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And we have it, everybody. We'll have to post it.
Yes.
For everyone to have. That's really great. So the other part, you've got a military section in the museum exhibit and really highlighting some of the heroes, hometown heroes. You've got women in there too.
Yes, we do. We are quite proud here in Gladewater of all of our veterans. We have a veterans monument about 2 blocks down from our museum, and you can have your name engraved on that if you lived in Gladewater, if you went to school in Gladewater, or if you got here as soon as possible in your life story. So we have a wonderful exhibit of World War I, World War II. We were recently asked why we didn't feature the other veterans, such as Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan. So in order to keep our patrons happy and also to keep our museum up to date, we reached out to community people, and our exhibit now is complete. We don't want to leave out any of our brave heroes that call Gladewater home.
So
Nice.
on the military side, you've also got the Rough Riders out here. Teddy Roosevelt, Texas Rangers. Sorry,
Texas
Rangers. Aren't they?
Rangers.
They're not the same as the Rough Riders. I've got myself twirled around.
I think they're different.
Yeah, we had
The
Texas
Texas
Rangers
Rangers.
come.
Okay, that's right.
Now that is the elite police force in Texas. A lot of people dream of becoming a Texas Ranger. The standards are really high. They're usually known because of those Stetson hats.
Okay.
Almost every Texas Ranger still wears one of those Stetsons. And
Nice.
back during the oil boom, we had people who were greedy, people who had became millionaires overnight. Then we had the people who were working in the fields, and they wanted a little bit of that wealth also. So Gladewater and Kilgore became so rowdy that the governor at the time sent in the Texas Rangers. They camped just north of our town. And Lone Wolf Gonzalez was the lead Texas Ranger on that. He had a car built, and on the right-hand side where the passenger would sit, he had a swivel machine gun installed. So do you think he put up with too much hanky-panky?
Oh, hanky-panky and gun. Was there some gunshots going off in places? And,
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like a one-man army.
Don't mess with him.
But he is one of our heroes,
Okay.
just for straightening out our community so that we could keep flourishing.
All right. So you got that side of the museum, and then you go around the corner and you've got the school and the business. You've got how people lived. So it shows, especially for kids, you even have a chamber pot.
Yes, we do.
For kids.
We're
all the
in
kids.
partnership with our school district, and all third graders are supposed to learn about their hometowns. And so we have a tour that we give to them during the course of that third grade year. And to explain what a chamber potty is to a third grader can stretch your imagination, because then they want to get off on other tangents. And so oftentimes we'll just mention them and then keep right on moving.
I just had to bring that up. So you do those tours, but you also have an open house every January?
Yes, on the third Saturday night of each new year in January, we host a night at the museum. And you ladies are certainly welcome to come back.
Thank you.
In each of our rooms, we have a local person who will tell about Gladewater's history. So, for instance, last year we had a native Caddo Indian lady. She came in her ceremonial dress. She had an exhibit up. She spoke about the early lives of Caddo Indians in our area. Then in our veterans area, we had invited about 3 veterans. They came and would visit with the visitors to that night. They answered any questions. They shared stories among themselves, which were really interesting.
Cool.
We've had our newspaper owner come and speak because the Gladewater, it used to be the Gladewater Daily Mirror. Now we get it on Wednesdays. But if you want to know something that's happening in Gladewater, pick up one of our local papers.
The local scandals.
It's got it.
Oh, they're not scandals. They're all lovely stories.
Oh, come on, we want gossip.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, go to Facebook for that kind of thing.
I know, really, yeah, and you might get kicked off.
Yes.
You never know. You might go to Facebook jail. But I think what's really neat for all generations to come in here into a museum like here is to understand the community you're in. I always say when you go to a town, try to go to the museum first, because then you understand the streets you're like. You've got these brick streets. I think that's one of the coolest things.
Yeah.
It's part of the identity of the town. You've got the oil derrick right in the heart and center, so people understand this was the way of life.
Now, one thing, we haven't been over to the Rodeo Annex, but we opened it just last January. And we have a rodeo that up until this year and COVID-19 had been every year since the 1930s.
Oh, wow.
And then the association had to cancel for this year. It broke our heart. But we did have a celebration on that Saturday that would have been the biggest day of the week for the rodeo. And we entitled it The Rodeo That Almost Happened, and guests came and they enjoyed seeing the Rodeo Annex. Our people who have been cowboys, cowgirls, some way connected to the Gladewater Roundup Rodeo, they have been real generous in donating items for that part of our museum. Now, we do have one lady, Deb Mohan, if you enjoy watching barrel racing, which is my favorite part of the rodeo. And that's when the ladies come out of the back of the arena, and they have to go around the 3 barrels without knocking them over.
Oh.
Well, Deb Mohan was world champion more than once. And the sad thing is that her horse Brownie, he was the horse that she always rode in competition. But she enjoyed helping other young riders, and she was trying to train a horse. And sadly, it caused her death.
Oh.
And it affected the whole community. And her service was, understandably out at the arena.
Wow. One thing I wanted to touch on, you're talking about the Rodeo Annex, and we saw, signs for that here. But across the street, you've also got the Opry, the Gladewater Opry. Going back to the music thing, I wanted to touch on that, because doesn't that connect to the musicians performing there over the years? That's connected to the Louisiana Hayrides. We've been to the Country Music Museum. It's actually part of Rebel State Park in Louisiana, over the Sabine River, out in the Tulane, near Natchitoches, Louisiana, and between that and Many, Louisiana. I'd say in no man's land. So a lot of the names that we're talking about, like Johnny Cash and all of them, also performed out in those hayrides. So that's kind of another connection to the Opry, right?
Right. Now, where the Opry's located today started out as the Cozy Theater.
Okay.
And at one time, we had 4 or 5 theaters here in Gladewater. And the Cozy, back in the day, they started showing those naughty movies.
Oh, bad.
And we have found newspaper clippings of the Southern ladies who just couldn't take that.
Everyone, Miss Lois is blushing.
Well,
under her witch hat.
They did a picket down there. And it was during the time when streakers became popular.
Oh my God.
And with all of the Southern ladies in their nicest Sunday
Monogram shoes.
Yes. And a streaker ran by them.
Oh, how funny.
So the theater closed, but then when Miss Nancy bought the building, she decided that we needed to bring music back to Gladewater, and she has done a wonderful job on Fridays and Saturday nights. Until the COVID-19 hit, she could have a packed house.
So when was that she opened it? What time frame?
Oh, I think it was probably back in the 90s, early 90s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's been open a number of years.
You said Casey Musgraves performed there?
Casey Musgraves performed there back when she was getting started. Now, Neil McCoy, for those of you that like him, he's performed at our rodeo once or twice. Tracy Bird has performed here in Gladewater.
Wow. Who knew? Gladewater is a destination, everybody.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You got to come down here. And do you know what the museum's website is for everyone? You can Google it, everyone.
Yes,
Google.
you can Google it.
Yeah. You've
But
got
right offhand, I don't have a card right here.
Yeah. So everyone, I know she's in her Halloween outfit.
That's right.
She's. I'll wave our magic wand. So also Facebook and everything.
Oh, yes.
So just type in Gladewater Museum and Google. You'll find it. And thank you so much for taking us around.
Oh, my pleasure. And you ladies come back in January.
We will. You never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
We're like bad pennies.
We just keep popping up.
I know.
Well, y'all are delightful. Thank you for including the museum.
Thank you.